girl, welcome back to my channel. Donghae is back with Beautiful. I continue to love that we are getting so much from Donghae. He also had a couple of dance practices as well, which I watched separately. So I cannot wait to see what this is all about. Let's go ahead and get started. Ooh, I already like the sound.
I'm sorry 가진 건 없어도 너만 있으면 life is good. 엔돌핀과 다출혈로 올라간 광대가 look so good. 엔딩은 happy로 슬픈 건 별 위로. I'm stuck in it. Oh, we in a white night side. My creamy latte 달콤한 추억만.
I love the rhythmic feel along with like the strumming of the guitar. And now it's picking up for this pre-chorus. I would love to get the guitar in here. Kind of feel.
Take you go high wherever you want. My creamy latte 달콤한 추억만. 너와 하루 one day 네 미소 바닐라 아이스크림 yeah. 난 너에게 홀리고 이미 귀에 걸린 피아노. I'm falling in love with you. 찰랑거린 beautiful. 내 눈 속에 beautiful. 너의 사랑 그거 하나면 I need you. 어서 끝나줘 잠깐 돌아가 순수했던 25 오늘 밤에 I'm still in love with you. Beautiful day 나의 하루 채워.
Oh, that low bass sound in there. Very nice. Something that I really like about this song is the way that the instrumentation is pretty, I don't want to say predictable because it's not 100% what I mean, but predictable is what I'm going to use. If I think about it, I will change that up. But with that being said, it means that the form of the song is easy to follow. Everything that's going on was really easy to like know exactly when what was coming. So like the anticipation of what was coming next really was up to Donghae and what he was doing with his vocals. And what he did was to make it different and make you anticipate what was coming next was to play a lot with the rhythm, play with pauses. And I think that's a really smart idea if you're going to have kind of this almost like circular effect within the instrumental. So especially when we kind of like break that down, we have in the verse, we have the strumming of the guitar. It's just on the chord, right? Like as he's singing. And then the pre-chorus, it picks up more. The strumming becomes faster. And then when we get to the chorus, that goes away and then it shifts to the electronic parts. So I would have liked, like I said, I mentioned, I would have liked if the guitar still would have been there. It would just been like a rhythmic element in there, but I understand why like it got pulled away. And then when we get into the second verse, it goes back to the strumming with the chords, and then that just repeats until we get to the bridge where we have a little bit of a different effect there. So as far as the instrumentation goes, like that was fairly simple throughout, and really what it was is what Donghae was doing in his vocals to like kind of switch it up. So in the first kind of half of the song, the first verse, chorus, pre-chorus and chorus, what I noticed especially was how everything picked up, even with like Donghae's vocals before launching into that first chorus. So that was definitely like a little rise and fall kind of feeling just in that first half. And then when we get into the second verse, Donghae had a lot more rhythmic quality to that. The lyrics were a lot faster. He was, you know, doing a little bit of speak talking throughout, which I thought was really good. And then we have a couple of different places where he took a pause. So he took a pause right before the pre-chorus, and this time the pre-chorus added a little more instrumentation along with Donghae's like more rhythmic singing, right? And then we have another pause before we go into the chorus, which again, this chorus, while still mostly the same as the first chorus, had a little more of that rhythmic element to it. So I really enjoyed that aspect. And then in the bridge, everything kind of pulled away. We had this really, really low bass sound. This is the like point where it did change up instrumentation, where that came in. And then we had some in the final kind of after the bridge, the final part, we had some background vocals, we had the final chorus, and then we have the modified vocals on Donghae's voice. So really, it all came down to what was happening within the voice versus what was happening in the instrumentation. So really, really fun. And overall, the vibe I got was one of the lyrics, I always want to be with you. And that's the vibe I got from the entire song, which I really enjoyed. And I've really been liking the way that Donghae has filmed these. I think this was really smart because he was going to put out all these videos of having the same kind of concept of it being simplistic, but in like this one frame kind of feeling. So you can do a lot of different things with that as far as like, I loved how so far back, like I think it was a refrigerator was in the back and like a couch. And so you have this really long space, so you can get some really interesting like far away shots, but then you can get some close-ups. You could also like zoom in so it's just like his face, that kind of thing. I think those are really smart techniques that I would hope that other people could look at, that you could do for maybe a company that doesn't have as much money. So obviously that's not the case with this. This was for a purpose, but I'm just saying it would be really interesting to me if, you know, other groups kind of took this idea and played around with it, because I think it's actually a really smart idea. I think especially for a soloist, it gives you like different dimensions and different depths, which I think is really important, you know, especially when we're talking about like choreography wise. What we always are looking for are different levels. We want different, you know, freeze frames and things like that within there. And so I think like for a soloist, this is a really good idea because you can have all of that without having dancers, without, you know, you can still get that depth and that perspective and all of that kind of thing from, you know, like having an interesting set that you can kind of play with the camera angles and everything on. So I think that's really fun and unique, and I've really been enjoying all of these. So tell me what your guys' thoughts are on this. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What was your favorite part of the song or the MV? For me, it really came down to the vibe of the song. I feel like all of Donghae's songs for me have been such an incredible vibe. It's just been so good. I really have that feeling of being alive, and I think that's what he was trying to come away with in this and really kind of show life in a really broad perspective, and I really enjoyed it. So tell me your guys' thoughts down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.